Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. Tower Talk Business Radio brings you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation, including expert consultants and small business owners who have found success, but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their first-hand experience. And now, let's get down to business with Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of NEFQ Business Banking, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand marketing and digital agency, and we're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship.
Ray and I bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry. But first, let's jump into Success Chat. So, Ray, according to Coco Chanel, beauty begins the moment you decide to be yourself. I've had a long journey in learning how to be myself over the years. So I'm excited about today's show.
Yes.
It's been a crazy long week, and everything that's happening out here in the news and in our world and social media is clogging up our minds. So I am glad to welcome another edition of Tower Talk Women's History Month.
Same here, and today, we're celebrating Women's History Month, so...
That's right. Hold on to your seats,
yes,
because we have a wonderful interview in store for you.
Yes,
and we're going to impact, everything that's happening with women, publishing, and the media. Plus, we're trying to figure out how do we balance it all. So,
yeah, in my world, women rule.
Women dominate you.
Yes.
You're outnumbered 3-1.
I'm one man in a house with one bathroom and 4 women. So in my world, they rule.
Thank you. We
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Keep it up, ladies.
I know my place. So helping provide us with business empowerment today, very appropriately, is our guest, Beverly Fortune, Chief Operating Officer of Morey Creative Studios. Beverly is an award-winning publisher. She's a writer and event coordinator and well-known across Long Island as a very dynamic and strategic connector. She builds lasting partnerships with businesses, nonprofits, local community. As COO of Morey Creative Studios, the largest HubSpot agency on the East Coast, Beverly oversees the day-to-day operations at the agency, and she heads up a custom publishing division. Beverly spent her career in publishing and was the longtime associate publisher of the award-winning alternative news outlet, the Long Island Press, and the women's lifestyle magazine, Milieu. Am I pronouncing that right?
Milieu.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I'm not so sophisticated. It sounds much better coming from you. She's expanded her role at Morey Creative to provide consulting services and continues to plan and produce some of Long Island's best-known events, including the highly successful Long Island Beauty Ball for cancer care. Several organizations have recognized Beverly as the person who gives a voice to women in the Long Island community. She is an Energia. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Okay, I got that one right. She is an engineer, now I messed it up. Energia, thank you, with the Academy of Regional Stewardship at Molloy College, and serves on the board of Nassau Community College Foundation and the board of advisors of Mayava Capital. Mayava. I messed that one up. All right, well, 1 out of 3 is bad, right?
It isn't bad.
Anyway, welcome, Beverly. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm exhausted just from talking about all the things you do.
And that's just the highlights.
Yes, I know.
She is a mover and shaker when it comes to Long Island business. So
Yes.
we are honored to have you with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we were talking before the show, DB, and I'm a huge fan of Long Island radio from the 80s and the 90s, and so Beverly has some very cool stories about that. So we'll get into that. A little suspense for our listeners here.
Oh, stay tuned.
Yes, we won't start there, but we're definitely going to get into that. Very excited. So, how did you land into publishing?
Well, it kind of goes back to the radio part. So, Morey organization owned WLIR Radio, and we also owned Party 105. And so we purchased the Vanderbilt. That's when I came into the picture, and I was working at the Vanderbilt with Jed Morey, the president of the company at the time. And we would book a lot of shows from the routing bands through New York. They would stop at the Vanderbilt. We had Smash Mouth. We did gosh, who was the guy that was? I can't remember his name.
The guy that did the thing.
The guy that did the thing. Opie and Anthony. We did Zebby Zoo at the time. I mean, we did Who Let the Dogs Out.
Oh, God.
But we did a whole bunch of really great concerts. Everything was $9.27 because the call letters were 92.7. But then we wanted to advertise the shows, and at the time, Newsday was the only thing, and it was like $6,000 a page. So Jed decided to look around, and we found out that the Islandeer, which was a very well-known and entrenched music publication on Long Island, was for sale. So Jed bought that, and we called it the New Islandeer. And then we started publishing as the Long Island Press as a weekly, and then it became an investigative newspaper. And we did that for over 10 years, and it was a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. I remember the While I'm Out Wednesdays and all that crazy radio stuff happening in Long Island, and so I don't see you being a part of that. But
no, I wasn't. It wasn't. But it was.
It was good times.
It was before the Pandora and XM and everything, and you just had the radio in your car in your house, and LIR was hugely popular, as you can attest to. So it still is.
Oh, yeah. It's still available online. I still listen to it when I'm not listening to WHPC, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
But yeah, that's so the roots in radio started and then ended up in publishing. And unfortunately, that's not the greatest business now either with the internet. But, things change, but I think things will come back as well. Just like LIR came back on the internet, I think niche publishing, which is what I'm doing now, has become very popular, and I think it will come back in a different way.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about how you're adapting to these changes.
Well, Morey, we've gone through a lot of changes between radio into print publication with news, and now we are what's called a HubSpot agency. So we sold the press to Schnepp's Communications. I'm sure you know Josh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we kept all our writers, and now they write for our clients, and it's content production.
That's great.
And it's the way people are searching for information, so we're giving them what they want. So, everybody's on their phone, so we're on people's phones. And then some of our clients still like print properties, so I do 4 custom publications for some of our clients, everything from BMW to beauty. And I love all of it. It's interesting.
Well, what's not to like about that?
Yeah.
You are the ultimate connector when I think of women out in Long Island. And we're at a time when people are finally leaning in, really speaking up for themselves. And you've interviewed the who's who of women in business, over 240 women that really are impactful in leading the voice in Long Island. Can you share some of those stories and your memorable moments?
Every single one of them was absolutely extraordinary. These were women that had, or most of them, had something happen to them, had a death or an illness or something, a tragedy. And then instead of going into themselves and going into depression, they did something about it. And they formed nonprofits. They found resources to help other people. And I mean, there are so many wonderful stories that I told, and I still see them, and we still connect, and I still connect them with other people, and they connect me, and it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, the stories are one beautiful one was there was a woman that. She had it was, what was it called? Heart of Sailing. It was out of Port Jefferson. And she got volunteer sailboat owners to donate their boat. They would drive the boat. And she would take autistic children out onto the bay. And anybody that has autism, they don't like any kind of noise or anything like that from a motorboat. So when I was waiting on the shore for them to take, I was going with a family of 2 boys. The boys were all over the place, and the parents were like beside themselves. And we got on the boat and we went out. You have to have the motor on a little bit. And we got out to sea, and then he turned it off, and then he let the boys sail.
Oh, nice.
And there wasn't a sound. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. And the parents were like, this is what it's like to have just peace and quiet and love. And she was just a wonderful, wonderful woman. And the people that were part of that donated their time like that, these guys would just come in and out and pick people up all day long on their own time. So, and there's a million stories like that.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and our guest today is Beverly Fortune, Chief Operating Officer of Morey Creative Studios.
Now, Beverly, you have an infectious, happy spirit. I mean, every time I see you, I mean, whether it's in person or on social media, you're just beaming with just happiness. And Ray, I think you can attest. What advice can you give people on positivity and how to share that wonderful spirit?
To me, it's just so much easier to come from a place of positivity. You just get so much more work done. People respond to you better. People want to be with you, or they listen to you. And, if you're negative, people, they shut you off. So I think out of all the people that I've met and heard their stories, I'm blessed. So I'm good.
Right.
So, if I can spread that around and help somebody else, that's good.
That's a very cool attitude. And, you're good, but you're also very busy. I mean, how do you manage all that? You're on volunteer boards, you're in the business, you are connecting people, you're a mom. I mean, all these things. How do you do it?
Well, I used to go to every event. And then once I started seeing the same people, I said, okay, so let me start going to different events. Just to expand myself and to really make use of my time. But, now that we're connected 24/7, you have to at some point turn it off. And to me, life is short. Enjoy it. I mean, you have to figure out what's the most important thing to do and then push the other things aside. And you have to say no.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's things that sometimes if you go through something, you realize that there's things that are, critical. And there are things that are important, but there's a difference. There's a big difference.
Right. I mean, if you ask yourself, even a month later, was it really important that I did that and missed something from my family, even if it was just watching television with my family? You have to ask yourself what's really important.
It moves too quick.
No, you definitely do.
Yeah.
So, Bev, you have knowledge of industries. You mentioned automotive to fashion. What's your first love?
Meeting people.
Nice.
And meeting people and then learning about them. And I try to learn one new thing every day. And I just find that fascinating. So I'll listen to anybody in any industry because I think I'll find something out of that I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay.
Now, who's influenced you?
Jed Morey. So I've been there for 20 years, and for all of us there, he gives us the tools and the time and the mentoring to just go for it. I mean, the very first day I started work with him, he had me meeting with the New York Times, with Newsday, and I was putting in ads for the Vanderbilt. And I was like, but I don't know anything about advertising. And he's like, you'll figure it out. And I did. And that's what he did with everything. You'll figure it out. So I figured it out.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you appreciate that because sometimes people don't.
What an opportunity!
They sometimes they don't get it, and you're like, I'm trying to not hold your hand, but give you the tools that you need to kind of push forward.
What a great thing to do for somebody! I loved it. It was great.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Beverly Fortune, Chief Operating Officer of Morey Creative Studios. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz, and you're on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. When I woke up, I couldn't speak or walk.
145 over 92, and then I had a heart attack.
182 over 100.
and I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke. Everything changed. It felt like my life was over.